Hey guys, Brien here with another video update from my culinary school journey at the Culinary Institute of America at Greystone. This is going to be a little bit of a unique video. As many of you know, I'm actually on summer break from school. And summer break actually for me happened at the end of the second semester, but not before it was finished. So it's actually weird. I have 3 weeks off from class, which I'm already more than halfway through. And then I go back, I have 3 weeks of classes before my second semester is finished, and me and my class leave for our externship. And my externship is actually the reason why I'm making this video. I know I've kind of talked a little bit about what the externship entails before, but I thought I'd go through and get a little bit more specific in this particular video. So the way that the Associate of Occupational Sciences and Culinary Arts at the Culinary Institute of America is laid out, it's in 5 semesters, okay? So I started semester 1 in January. Usually the semesters are around 4.5 months. I'm currently in my second semester, wrapping things up. Again, I go back and I have 3 weeks left of class, and then second semester is done. So that leaves 3 semesters left. The third semester is actually my externship semester. So it's the exact same length of time as any of the other semesters, so like 4.5 months. But I don't pay tuition. I'm not in a classroom. And in fact, externship is for getting out in the industry and working in the field on your craft, you know, and that's what it's all about. So from the very beginning of this culinary school journey, we've been coached to start thinking about where we want to externship, start thinking about the kinds of restaurants we want to work at, the kinds of chefs we want to work under. So that's something that I've been really working on and thinking about, really even since before I came to the Napa Valley in January. And it's been an exciting journey. It really has. You know, a lot of people struggle with where they're going to go and do their externship. And that wasn't as much of something that I was worried about. Something that I might not have talked about before is really the reason and the point when I actually decided to come to culinary school, sell everything I own, and move to the Napa Valley. And I was actually, I was in San Diego. I was on a walk to the beach by myself, which I did often, and I would listen to audiobooks. I really liked listening to food, you know, books about food, books about chefs, autobiographies from chefs. And this particular occasion, it was a beautiful day. I remember it like it was yesterday. Walking to the beach from my house, and I was listening to the audiobook of Chef Grant Achatz of Alinea in Chicago. 3 Michelin star, amazing chef. If you guys have ever seen his Chef's Table episode on Netflix, it's phenomenal. So in his book, Life on the Line, he actually talks about the moment he worked for Charlie Trotter, the chef Charlie Trotter, who is infamous for his kind of brash, hard leadership style in the kitchen. And how Grant Achatz, fresh out of Culinary Institute of America, went there and he just didn't have a very good experience. And that's something that is kind of known in the industry, that there are some chefs out there that just are really hard and it's hard to work with, and it's just because of their passion, and you know, they just have this certain kind of management style that's not more guiding, it's more criticizing, and while that works for some, it doesn't work for others. And in Grant's book, he talks about leaving Charlie Trotter's and reading about this new chef in California who had been you know, just cooking some new food that people hadn't seen before. So he was really intrigued and actually went to California in order to seek out this particular chef. And the chef was Chef Thomas Keller. And he was seeking out Chef Keller because he had read about him, read about what he was doing and his style, and was very intrigued. So what Grant did is he kind of packed his bags, went to Yountville, California, and decided he was going to pop into the French Laundry. He popped in one morning, kind of an early day, and you know, little did he know, he walked in and there was one person working. That one person was just mopping the floor. He said it just looked like kind of a normal person. when he introduced himself as Grant Achatz looking for a potential culinary job, and was asking for the chef, the person he was speaking with said, "I'm Thomas." And from that point forward, the partnership of Grant Achatz and Thomas Keller kind of came to be. From that day, Grant Achatz was actually hired to work at the French Laundry. Worked there for many, many years. If you've actually read his book, he did a couple stints other places, came back, and was ultimately named the I believe it was the executive sous chef of the French Laundry. Before he went off and did other things, now he has an Alinea and a number of other restaurants like Next, multiple Michelin stars. The man is a genius. But what he talked about Thomas Keller is really what sparked my interest in the man. He talked about kind of his gentle communication style and how Grant Achatz going from Charlie Trotter, who is really brash, really in your face, just wants to berate you and kind of bring you down in order to build you up. Chef Keller is a lot different and doesn't work in that same style. And Grant fell in love. Grant loved it. After reading that book, I then started to really study Chef Thomas Keller. Now I've known about Chef Thomas Keller for a really long time. He, the owner of the French Laundry, really one of the most influential chefs in American history. So I was very familiar with him, but I wasn't familiar with his style in the kitchen. So honestly, it was that book and all the supplement books that I've read after Life on the Line that really, really pushed me towards coming to the CIA at Greystone and trying to pursue working under the chef that basically I idolize most, and that is Chef Thomas Keller. So that all being said, when it came to looking for an externship, you got to put out feelers. Finding an externship is just like finding a job. You can't just apply for one place, assume they're going to hire you, everything's going to be, hunky-dory and perfect, and you just move on with your life. It's not like that at all. You need to apply to many places. You need to apply rigorously. You need to apply specifically for that particular restaurant under that particular chef and word resumes and cover letters and things like that accordingly. So when I set out on my journey, I applied to a ton of different restaurants. Now, all of them are very high-end restaurants. I have always wanted to kind of work in Michelin star restaurants, work with French food specifically, and under chefs that teach and cook those types of cuisines. So I put my feelers out there. I applied to 11 Madison Park. I applied to Grant Achatz Alinea. I applied to several Thomas Keller restaurants, Per Se in New York, the French Laundry here in Napa Valley in Yountville. And another one was another one of Thomas Keller's restaurant, and that was Bouchon Bistro, which, if you're not familiar, is Chef Thomas Keller's one Michelin star restaurant. It's a bistro. It's also in Yountville, California, right down the street from the French Laundry. And they do French. It's a French bistro. It's a beautiful, beautiful restaurant. Actually, Bouchon Bistro was the very first Michelin star restaurant I had ever eaten at. So my first experience with a Michelin star restaurant was a Thomas Keller restaurant, and it was Bouchon Bistro. Now, throughout the first semester, it's very important to do networking, not just in school, but outside of school. And one of the things that one of my instructors picked up on was that I really, really wanted to work for the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group. And he noticed that, and he remembered it. And him and I actually had some sit-down talks about it. And, I basically said to him, can you see any drawback in working for a Michelin star kitchen under Chef Thomas Keller for my externship? Do you think I'm ready? Do you think that's something that I should pursue? Is there any drawbacks? And basically the chef said, no. I mean, you know what you want to do. You know who you want to work for. And, I see no problem with that. He's like, as a matter of fact, I have been a chef that works for Thomas Keller, reached out to me and is actually looking to hire externs and reached out to me and asked, do you know any good students that would be a good extern to work for me? And this instructor reached out to me and said, hey, listen, I have an opportunity. It's to work at the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group. It's for an externship. I thought you'd be interested. Is this something that you'd be interested in? If so, I can, start a dialogue. I'll introduce you to the chef kind of digitally, and then you can go from there. And so that's exactly what happened. I said, yes, please. That's, a dream come true for me. I never thought that I'd be able to work in a in a restaurant of that caliber just for externship. So yeah, let's just get this process started. So the process was started. The interviews were done. In fact, when you do get a job in most restaurants, you need to do what's called a stage, which is basically a work shift where you work, show them what you have in the kitchen, the abilities to listen and to actually perform. And then based on how that goes, you sit down and have a conversation with the chef, and then they decide, you all decide whether that particular restaurant is a good fit for you. So that's what happened. I did the process. There was a digital introduction via email. Then I went and met with the chef of this restaurant and had a sit-down interview. That went well. He asked me to then come back and do a stage, which I did. That also went well. Got to meet some of the people in the kitchen there, which was really, really great. And at the end of it, basically, he offered me the job. He said, now listen, it's going to be a lot of work. You're going to work hard. You're going to work long hours. It's going to be rough. And I said, that's exactly what I'm looking for, chef. Like, that's what I signed up for. I didn't come to the best culinary school in the country to have a bit of a lapse when it comes to my externship. I want to work hard. I want to learn from the best so I can try to become the best I can be. So that was done. He accepted me. I accepted the position. So without further ado, I would like to say that I have accepted the position for externship starting in September of 2018 through December of 2018 at the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group owned Bouchon Bistro in Yountville, California. Again, this was the very first Michelin star restaurant I've ever eaten at, so it's really cool. It's come full circle, and it's really part of my journey, my story, if you will, and I'm just so excited about it. As most of you probably saw, I actually worked at Bouchon Bistro for what's called Bastille Day, which is, for lack of a better term, kind of French Independence Day, where Bouchon Bistro and the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group just throw a huge party, French food, and they need volunteers, and I was happy to volunteer, which was such a good experience. I got to spend some time with my sous chef, who I'll be working with at Bouchon Bistro, my executive chef, and just all the other people that work there. So it was a fantastic time. It built some camaraderie, and it just got me really, really excited for my externship. So that's it, guys. You're looking at the newest member of the kitchen at the one Michelin star Thomas Keller owned Bouchon Bistro in Yountville, California. I'll be there for a couple months, learning as much as I can from some of the best in the world. I hope that, not only do I hope to learn a ton, I hope to find some mentors there. Not that I haven't already, but more. It's always good to networking, as I said. And I could not be more proud to be part of the Thomas Keller Restaurant Group. I mean, the man is, I idolize him more than any other chef in the world right now. And, working at Bastille Day, the only payment I actually got was a fist bump by Thomas Keller, and that paid for my my workload 10 times over. So couldn't be more excited. So that's it, guys. Externship starts in September, goes through December. Bouchon Bistro, Yountville, California. I'm Brien O'Brien, Culinary Institute of America at Greystone, Semester 2 student. If you have any questions about what it takes to get enrolled at the Culinary Institute of America, what it's like to be a student, what it's like to search for an externship at multiple Michelin star restaurants, please feel free to reach out. You can email me at brian@chefbrianobrien.com. You can comment below or just inbox me. Whatever's easier for you guys. Thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next week.